Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you another of my classic film reviews. Today I'm taking a look at the 1996 classic John Woo action film, Broken Arrow. The film is obviously directed by John Woo and it stars John Travolta, Christian Slater, Samantha Mathis, Delroy Lindo and Bob Gunton. Right, the film focuses on essentially two characters. You've got Deeks and Hale. Deeks is played by Travolta, Hale is played by Christian Slater. They are friends and co-pilots in the military, and they are tasked with flying like experimental aircraft. And there's one particular night they're flying this aircraft that is carrying two nukes. Deeks, played by Travolta, betrays Christian Slater's character and he's attempting to steal the nukes so he can sell them and get rich. Hale, who survives this, decides he's going to track him down and put a stop to him. Along the way, he gets help from Samantha Mathis's character, Terry Carmichael, who's a park ranger, and they go up against Deeks and his military traitors. Right, what are my thoughts on Broken Arrow? I've always been a bit of a fan of this one. This was, I think, John Woo's second US film after Hard Target in '93. And, you know, when you compare the three films that, that he did in the '90s, so he did Hard Target, he did this, and then obviously he did Face Off. Face Off is like the culmination of, if you like, of all these ideas coming together and really, really working. I think studio involvement in Hard Target and this kind of ruined it a little bit. Cutting action scenes down, and apparently there's another cut of this out somewhere that is much better than the theatrical version, which would be interesting to see if we ever get the chance to see that version of the film. But saying that, I've always been a little bit of a fan of this one, and there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, you've got John Woo in his absolute prime here in regards to his action films, and he could translate that, I think, quite well to like Western cinemas and Western audiences. They're always very, very interesting to watch his films from that standpoint. And you've got in John Travolta here, a central performance that is just so memorable. It's like his audition for Face Off, this one, really. The character who plays Deeks. He's so villainous, he's so over the top, he's so pantomime. You can see that Travolta's having an absolute ball playing this character. And he comes up with some cracking lines. When the helicopter crashes and he goes, oh god damn, and he says, you're crazy, and he says, I know, ain't it cool? I mean, some of the stuff that he comes out with in this film, Travolta, is just classic villainy, and he plays villains so well, and he is ultimately incredibly entertaining in this film. I mean, you watch it, and when you first start watching his performance in this, you're kind of thinking, oh, is it too much? Because I don't remember it being too much. And then once you kind of zone into that performance again, you just realise it's just fantastic stuff and really entertaining. However, you've got the other side of that coin. You've got Christian Slater as Hale. Now, I've never ever really bought Christian Slater as an action star. Don't know why. Maybe it was the films that he was in never really worked. I think the best I've ever seen him in an action film was Cuffs, and that was an action comedy, and that was, he was very, very good in that. He was perfect for his personality. Whereas, he was being pushed as a bit of an action star in the '90s. We got this, and then we got Hard Rain, I believe. There's probably more, but I can't remember. Let me know in the comments if you can. And he just never really seemed to suit the role. I don't dislike him in this film. I just don't buy his character in this film. And it's a bit of a, I don't know, when you compare it to Travolta's performance, it needed a little bit more. I mean, it had to be grounded. Of course, it had to be grounded, his performance, when you compare it to Travolta. And I just didn't buy as well the chemistry between himself and Samantha Mathis, which is odd because my understanding is they were not an item during filming. I think they were ex-boyfriend and girlfriend when they made this film together. So you'd have thought there'd have been a little bit of a spark or something there, but no, I didn't buy that relationship between them. I liked her character because she was pretty, quite independent and a very strong character, and she held her own in the film. I just didn't buy that bit that they were kind of playing, the chemistry between her and Christian Slater's character. And then we've got the great Bob Gunton here as well, as one of the villains, the guy that's funding like these mercenaries. I'm a big fan of Bob Gunton. He's done so many classic films over the years. He plays great villains as well. Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion. But he's not given enough to do here. And everybody, in regards to like the mercenaries and the bad guys, they all pale in comparison to Travolta. Because his performance is so over the top and so entertaining. Nobody else can come close, really. I mean, we've got Howie Long, who plays one of these mercenaries. He has a couple of moments, but generally speaking, everybody really here pales in comparison. So what you've got really is this cat and mouse game between Hale and Deeks, trying to outdo each other, trying to outwit each other. And if you like, Deeks underestimating the Hale character, doesn't think he's going to be able to stop him, doesn't think anybody's going to be able to stop him. He's massively overconfident, and there are some fun scenes, when things aren't going his way, and it's actually genuinely funny at times as well. The scene where Howie Long's shooting at the truck with the nukes in it, and Travolta says, "Will you please stop shooting at the thermonuclear weapons?" It makes you giggle. There's some cracking lines. It's well written, is this film. It's one of those eras, if you like. It's one of those classic 90s action films that is still, if you like, it's got an awful lot of the 80s in it, but it's pure 90s action. It's not too worried about being over the top. It's not too worried about being gritty, grounded, or realistic. It's just there to entertain you, and there's lots of shooting, there's lots of explosions, loads of action, loads of John Woo slow-mo. I don't think there's any doves in this. No, I don't recall seeing any doves in this. Usually, if it's a John Woo film, you're getting doves, whether you like it or not, flying across the screen in slow-mo. But you get a fun time here. There's not a lot of time for it to kind of let you catch your breath, so there's no like meaningful dialogue, characters trying to find themselves, or it doesn't even have too many scenes of, in films like this you've got scenes like back at the base where you've got these military seniors and people kind of debating what to do with each other. There's a bit of that, but there's not too much of it. 'Cause sometimes that can drag these films down, I think. Most of it is like Christian Slater going up against John Travolta's character Deeks. And it's overall, I think, a fun experience. Yes, it's flawed. It's not what you would call dated massively well, but if you're a fan of like old school action films that are done properly and are really quite fun and silly to watch at the same time, then you could do far worse than checking out Broken Hour. You get to see John Woo in his prime, John Travolta in his prime, and you get a pretty damn entertaining action film as well to boot. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please click the like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will of course be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.